The hospital corridor reeked of antiseptic, a sterile sting that clung to the air like a warning. Sarah, a nurse of 10 years, stood frozen as the three teenagers loomed over her, their sneers sharp enough to cut through her scrubs. "You think you're tough, fixing people up?" One of them spat, his voice dripping with venom. Before she could respond, a shove sent her crashing to the cold linoleum floor, her tray of medical supplies scattering like broken promises. The world spun, pain blooming in her shoulder, but something inside her snapped awake. A fire she hadn't felt since she was a kid, fighting to be seen in a world that often looked away. Sarah wasn't always a nurse. Growing up in a small town, she was the quiet girl with a stutter, the one who hid behind books and dreamed of helping others. Her father, a firefighter, taught her resilience, but her mother's gentle hands, always tending to scraped knees or bruised hearts, showed her kindness. Those lessons carried her through nursing school, through long shifts in the ER, and into this moment, sprawled on the floor of St. Mary's Hospital. The teenagers, barely 18, were patients' cousins, loitering in the waiting area, restless and angry. They'd been taunting her all evening, snide comments about her weight, her tired eyes, her boring life. It wasn't personal, she knew. They were lashing out, scared for their cousin in surgery. But when the tallest one, Jake, pushed her, it wasn't just about tonight. It was every bully she'd ever faced, every voice that told her she wasn't enough. Her hands trembled as she pushed herself up, the cold floor biting her palms. The other nurses were at the station, too far to help. The security guard was on another floor. It was just her and them. Jake laughed, his friends egging him on, their voices a cruel chorus. "Stay down, lady," he sneered, kicking a bandage roll across the floor. Sarah's eyes darted to the broken chair nearby, its legs splintered from some earlier chaos in the waiting room. Her heart pounded, not with fear, but with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. She wasn't that stuttering kid anymore. She was the woman who'd held dying hands, who'd stitched wounds under pressure, who'd learned to stand tall even when her knees shook. She grabbed the chair leg, not as a weapon, but as a symbol. Rising to her feet, she held it like a scepter, her voice steady despite the ache in her shoulder. "You don't get to decide who I am," she said, locking eyes with Jake. The corridor went silent. His smirk faltered, and for a moment, she saw the scared kid beneath the bravado. This wasn't just about her. It was about him, too, and the pain he didn't know how to carry. The challenge wasn't just the physical threat. Sarah faced a deeper battle, the weight of her own insecurities. Years of being mocked for her stutter, her softness, her choice to care in a world that often didn't, had left scars. Every shift at the hospital tested her, patients yelling, doctors dismissing her, the endless grind of 12-hour days. Tonight, though, was different. These boys weren't just bullies. They were a mirror, reflecting every doubt she'd ever buried. Standing there, clutching that chair leg, she realized she had to confront not just them, but herself. The standoff didn't last long. Jake's friends shuffled back, uncertain. Sarah didn't swing the chair leg. She didn't need to. Her presence, her refusal to stay down, was enough. "You're angry," she said, her voice softer now. "But hurting me won't fix it." She set the chair leg down, a deliberate choice. Jake's eyes flickered with something. Shame, maybe, or relief. He muttered an apology, barely audible, and the three of them slunk away. Sarah's heart raced, but she felt lighter, as if she'd shed a weight she hadn't known she carried. The next day, the hospital buzzed with the story. Nurse Sarah took on 3 punks with a chair leg, the janitor said, grinning. But Sarah didn't feel like a hero. She felt raw, exposed. She'd stood up, yes, but the real fight was ongoing. She saw it in the way Jake lingered outside the hospital later, waiting to talk. He was there to check on his cousin, who'd pulled through surgery, but he also wanted to make things right. "I didn't mean it," he said, staring at the ground. "My dad, he's like that. Pushes people around. I don't know." Sarah listened, her nurse's heart taking over. Jake wasn't a villain. He was a kid caught in a cycle of pain. She faced another challenge then, forgiveness. It wasn't easy. Her shoulders still ached, and her pride stung worse. But she remembered her mother's hands. Always gentle, always healing. "You're not your dad," she told him. "You get to choose who you are." It was a small moment, but it shifted something in both of them. Over the next weeks, Sarah faced new challenges. The hospital administration wanted to press charges against Jake and his friends, but Sarah pushed back. She advocated for community service instead, believing they needed guidance, not punishment. It wasn't a popular stance. Some colleagues thought she was too soft, but she held firm. She also faced her own doubts, wondering if she was strong enough to keep doing this job. The long hours, the emotional toll, the constant need to prove herself, it was exhausting. Yet, every time she helped a patient, every time she saw Jake volunteering at the hospital's outreach program, she felt that fire again. The resolution wasn't a single moment, but a series of small victories. Jake started opening up, helping with small tasks at the hospital, finding purpose. Sarah, too, found her voice, not just against bullies, but in staff meetings, advocating for better working conditions. She began mentoring younger nurses, sharing her story to show them they could stand tall, too. The chair leg became a quiet legend among the staff, a reminder that strength wasn't about fighting back, but about standing up, again and again. By the time Sarah stood in the hospital courtyard months later, watching Jake graduate from the outreach program, she felt a quiet pride. The world hadn't changed, bullies still existed, and the ER was still chaos, but she'd faced her fears, her doubts, and the pain of others, and she'd come out stronger. Her stutter, once a source of shame, was now just a part of her, like the calluses on her hands or the warmth in her smile.